Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to tonight's regular scheduled meeting of Freeport City Council. It's Tuesday, February 18th at 6 o'clock. I will declare that a quorum is present. At this time, I will ask Councilman Rosso to lead us in the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray. Lord, we thank you once again for this gathering. We ask you, Lord, to have your way. Bless the council, the mayor, city council. What do you do, Lance? Our illustrious city manager, all the people out in the cyber world. We thank you, Lord, for being such a good God to us. And in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, and you may be seated. As usual, we'll start off with citizens' comments. Miss Pam Dancy.
Hello, Council. Is this on? Hello, hello. Pam Dancy, 313 South Front Street. Well, we're in February, and I remember you guys telling us that in February 2025, they were going to start working on the road coming into Freeport. So I was just curious if there's any updates on that from Mr. Petty. And also, I've spoken to some people, we're just out of conversation, out of Surfside, and they were stating that they were going to try to pay us back with FEMA funds, but I also read online that there was a pause on some of those FEMA funds, so I don't know what's actually factual or not, but if it is factual, then that could probably put a hickey on Surfside paying us. So I don't know how we would handle that since there's a recurring payment every month that they owe us. But I would definitely like to know about the road work since we're almost done with with February. Thank you.
Thank you. Hans, I'm sorry, I will torture the last name if I try, so we're going to stick with Hans if that's all right with you, sir.
Yeah, sure. My name is Hans Marticek. I'm a retired Houston police officer. I've got 38 years in law enforcement, and I currently work for the Combined Law Enforcement Associations of Texas, and I'm here to speak on behalf of, I believe it's SI, or the agenda on the civil service. I don't remember which number it was.
2I.
Yeah, 2I, yes, 2I. But I'll hold my comments till later, but
Okay.
We're in favor of it, but we're not in favor of the date. So,
We'll pause this and we'll wait till we get to 2I and let you
thank
speak.
you.
Mr. Jared Miller, you also wanted to speak on 2I. Did you want to speak now or? Yes, sir.
Can everybody hear me all right?
Yes, sir.
Here we go. Merit. A merit raise, also known as a merit increase, is a pay increase given to an employee based on their performance. COLA, a cost of living raise, also called a cost of living adjustment, is an increase in someone's salary or benefits designed to offset the rising cost of goods and services due to inflation. essentially allowing them to maintain their current standard of living, despite of price increases. Good evening. For everyone watching at home or watching across the nation, I want you to all understand that I'm not alone in this evening. I stand with my brothers and sisters in blue and yellow, which are just behind me. You might not be able to see them on the camera, but they're here. My name is Jared Miller. I do reside here in Freeport. I'm coming to this council meeting not only as a concerned citizen, but as a concerned employee. I have lived in the city for almost a year and have worked for the Freeport Police Department for almost 4. You're probably wondering why 2I is on this agenda for tonight. This item has been brought forth from the employees of the Freeport Police Department who are tired of sitting back and watching things unfold. This past year was presented to the Freeport City Council in the budget that the entire city staff of Freeport was to receive a 3.5% cost of living adjustment. While most of the city employees did in fact receive it, it is the employees at the police department who are not on the pay matrix did not. Why didn't we? Is everybody else's cost of living better than mine? I paid $6 a dozen for a thing of eggs, and I know all of you did as well with all the rising egg costs. Gentlemen, I hope that you hear my heart and my concern. We didn't put on this badge for the money. We signed up to go save your children from the people who shouldn't be on the streets. We signed up to give chest compressions to the elderly woman who is on her deathbed that would ultimately pass while we struggle to keep her alive. We signed up to stay up all hours of the night protecting your family from the dangers that this world has, knowing that this would cause us to be away from ours. We've missed countless practices, games, Thanksgiving, Christmases, and major milestones in each of our children's lives so we could protect yours. We worked days on end to take care of the citizens of this city during Hurricane Beryl. I laid my head to rest right here, and my partner laid right back behind you two. While we were out working, and then at night, the night shift would come in here and we'd swap out. It should, however, be duly noted that our ladies in yellow are also with us, our dispatchers, the ladies who are our lifeline on the radio, the ladies who are our cornerstone and the ones we depend on to keep things running seamlessly. They have endured the same treatment as the officers of Freeport. These ladies are highly trained and required to answer for multiple calls for service, guarantee accurate dispatch information is relayed to responding officers, and ensure officer safety. During Hurricane Beryl, these ladies slept in the other rooms throughout the PD, crammed 6 or 7 of them in dispatch with no AC, keeping up with the higher than usual call volume. And they were the voice of comfort on the other side of that phone while the citizens battled the hurricane. Their families suffered just as much as our officers' families, but they get paid significantly less. These ladies did not receive their cost of living adjustments either. We knew the job we were signing up for. What we didn't realize is that while we swore to take care of the city management would refuse to take care of us. You need to understand that these men and women that I'm representing right now are some of the bravest men and women there are. But we all fear retaliation from city management for speaking out. While we fear it, we feel it is come to the point where we need to take a stand and bring this to the attention of our community. Our goal is to bring awareness to this injustice, spark the
Mr. Miller.
investigation, encourage you to do the right thing. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Manning Rollerson.
Now that's a tough one to follow. Speaks a lot about the men and women that sit out in the streets all night long and watch our backs. Make sure our kids can walk down the streets and make it home. Keep criminals from breaking in our homes in the middle of the night and they can't afford to buy a dozen of eggs. Speaks a lot about governance and management. But I came today because I just got back from Japan February the 1st. I went to Japan to find out who's responsible for the explosion June the 8th, 2022 from LNG. Went to find out who's culpable to the citizens of Freeport. My concern from this council, why haven't y'all tried to find out about the deliberate dumping on the city of Freeport when the mechanism showed and the CEO proved that he didn't told them not to turn on the emergency warning system. That's a deliberate dumping and an impact on the community. City said nothing. City did nothing. There are contingency plans to get the people taken care of if they get sick based on June 8, 2022. From all the major banks in Japan, the three that's financing, the Japanese government that's paying for LNG, and the process of billing them out. So that brings me to one thing. Why did y'all vote on tax abatements to build LNG now when $1 was invested to LNG? And that's from the Japanese government. How's that possible? Where's our money going? We ain't got streets. We don't have new neighborhoods. The land's being sold. But yet, we invest in everything in this community. But for 57 years, Freeport haven't grown at all, period. And then the city want to run away from its obligations downtown to bring business back downtown. You want to buy another building. We can't afford to go buy more homes. Nobody. This city must show some leadership for a change. Because it's at the point now where I filed a human rights abuse case against the city of Freeport. And I did it with the Department of Interior. Because at the end of the day, you allow us to be poisoned, you allow us to drink bad water, you know everything that's going on in this government dealing with criminality. That's just plain and simple. Plays out every week. The cover-ups. At the end of the day, we got a law firm that can't even write a contract to get our money back. What's going on here? All of these reasons are reasons why the people are being neglected. And these are human rights abuse claims. Y'all will be getting a letter. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rutherson. Moving on. Council regular business. Number 2A, consideration and possible action approving the meeting minutes of February 3rd, 2025, and the workshop minutes from February 10th, 2025. Council, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
We have a motion to approve by Councilman Matamoros. Is there a second?
Yes, I'll second.
Second by Councilman Rosso. Any discussion needed, council? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor state aye. Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 4-1. Councilman Pena being the nay. Agenda item 2B, consideration and possible action by City Council approving the sale of trust property within the city limits located at Velasco Town Site, Block 694, Lot 16. Ms. Kramer.
Good afternoon, well, good evening.
Good evening.
Before you tonight, I have 4 offers on trust properties placed on this agenda. Each of these properties have been approved by the Brazoria County Resale Committee and accepted the amount offered. And as a taxing entity, it's your job as council to vote to accept or deny their offers. Before we begin each of these offers, I want to kind of explain how a property ends up in front of you that's a resale property. All these properties end up, or they're because of unpaid taxes. When a property becomes delinquent, our tax attorneys, Purdue Brandon, file paperwork with the county and take possession of the lots. They'll be presented for auction to the highest bidder at a live auction in Angleton conducted by the Sheriff's Department. The minimum bid at the tax sale is the total taxes due, penalties, interest, including court costs, or Sometimes it's the value of what the property is, and it's usually whichever one is less. If there's no bids, the property goes onto a list called the resale list, and it's properties all over the county that there was no bid on at the auction, and anybody can make a bid on that piece of property, and it will be presented to the resale committee. It'll be presented to the resale committee, and they approve it or they deny it. So when they approve it, then it ends up in front of you guys. So the purpose of this being presented is basically to get the unpaid taxes paid and get the property back on the tax roll. The purpose is not for the city to receive the dollar amount that it would receive if it was a private sale. This is simply the last step in the process of getting taxes paid and the property back on the tax roll. So in the next 4 items, I will say that they were all made by the same person. So item 2B.
Let's go.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
The Brazoria County Resale Committee met on January the 28th and accepted an offer of $3,300. The taxes due on the property were $3,265 for the years of 2002 through 2022. And we are expected to receive $702.46 if this is approved.
And that means that's 4 more lots the city doesn't have to mow as well.
It is our obligation to do the maintenance on properties that are entrusted to the city.
Council, I will entertain a motion.
Mayor, I'm going to make a motion to deny this sale.
We have a motion to deny by Councilman Matamoros. Is there a second? Is there a second? Motion fails. I will entertain another motion on this. I will make a motion to approve the sale, to get it back on the tax roll. Is there a second? Is there a second?
What's second, have any discussion on it?
That is correct.
Well, I'll second it.
Seconded by Councilman Davis. Any questions or comments, gentlemen?
I have a couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Kramer, thanks for putting that information together. I have a couple of questions. Do we know who the buyer is on these, on all 4 of these? Was that, I didn't see
do.
that in the packet.
We do. If you'll turn to the 3rd page of this item, it'll about halfway down on that sheet of paper, it says property information at the
Oh,
top.
Abbosley?
Yes.
Got it. And has Abbosley purchased other properties in the city prior to these? that are being offered today?
Not to my knowledge, but the county folks seem to be familiar with who he is,
I got it.
or she is, this person, I should say.
And then in terms of the back taxes, the back taxes annually that are owed, so it was from 2020,
2002 to 2022.
from 2002 through 2022. So what happened to what happened to 23 and 24?
So is it, if you turn to the next page, actually?
Yeah.
If you go down to the bottom, it'll say post-judgment information. And that'll show what has accrued since judgment for the years 23 and 24.
So it seems to me that, I'm sorry, there's an echo in this, but I hope it doesn't hurt anybody's ears. Or for that matter, if it can be at least properly recorded so that folks at home can hear this correctly. Is that sound-wise, Mr. Cohen? Okay, thank you. So the value on this third page, I guess 43 on the packet, shows 11,720 as the market value, right? So all the taxes accumulated by the county and every taxing entity is basing their tax value on that 11,000. Is that right?
For in the future going forward, but at the time, it was when the judgment was, which was in 2022, I believe.
And what was that value in 2022?
The adjudged value was $3,280.
So that's what I was kind of curious about. So as it stands, it's accruing tax revenue at that value.
Yes, but no one's paying it.
But no one's paying it, but it's being accrued. But the moment somebody pays it, all of that gets satisfied,
They have to, whoever the purchaser is also then has to go and pay
those back taxes.
the taxes and the ones that have accrued since judgment, yes.
Correct. So if we're selling it at $700, or for that matter, 1,000 something, was it? We're selling it for how much again here? I'm trying to scroll up here. We get 700 of it,
Yeah.
but it's sold for
The
1,650?
offer, the offer was 3,300.
3,300. And we're getting 700 of that.
Yes, it's after court cost and penalties and all the fun stuff that goes along.
So is it fair to say then that we're gonna be getting less because it'll be taxed on the 3,000 value, or is it still gonna be at the 11,000 value? Once if the council approves it, is the valuation gonna be the 3,000 or the 11,000?
So we will get exactly what's on this sheet of paper. That we will all split the 3,300 because that's what it was at judgment.
I understand. I guess the question I'm asking is,
Taxes will be based on the tax value.
When it goes back on the tax roll.
January 1st through the appraisal process that goes through, so it'll be, we don't know what that value is.
so the valuation though, as of 2025, January 1, 2025 is what amount?
We do not know. Those are not actually released, I think, until September or October, something like that.
So for 2024 though, what do we have?
Let's see what it says on here. 11,720?
Okay, now do we traditionally see that if the value is at 11,000 and we're selling it at a fraction of that the following year, where does it typically land in your experience? Does it land closer to the 11,000, the higher mark of the county, or at the lower mark that we sold it at? And the reason I'm asking this is I'm just really getting at is it better for us to not sell it and then just have taxes accrued until we actually get something closer to market value that the county has it appraised at?
Yeah. So it will continue to be the amount that's on this sheet right here. It's going to continue to be the 3,280 until all the taxes are paid since judgment and we approve it, and then it'll jump up to that higher amount, regardless if we do it now or if we do it next year.
Got it. No further questions, thank you.
Council, anyone else have any questions or comments? Mr. Davis?
Does it say what size the lots are?
It's a 25-foot. 25-foot. One 25-foot on this particular item, because there's 4 items on the agenda. So this particular one is 25-foot.
I know we have a previous motion of nay, and now we have one for approving it. I'm just curious what the reason why on the nay was by the councilman from Ward C.
Council, any other questions or comments?
Is Councilman Davis done with his questioning?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So my decision to deny this sale is we in Freeport, we want Freeport to get better. And so if we start undercutting ourselves and selling of lots, that's what we're doing. This 25-foot lot is not being maintained by the city. It's being maintained by the residents adjoining each of it. So city's not maintaining it. This lot has been like that for 25, well, probably over 60 years. My opinion is we need to, I mean, we sit up here and we have people complain, why are you selling Freeport short all the time? And if we go and start ourselves by selling property, then we're no better. We want Freeport to become a better place. And so that's my biggest reason is there will be somebody who's going to pay for that, especially with the 11,720, especially because they know, hey, they can build on a 25-foot lot. If they really want it, they will pay for it. And so those are my reasons why I wanted to deny it, and I'll vote no on every single one of these, just because it's not an adjoining property owner. And so it's just going to sit and sit and sit. And we're just going to get very little. I'm sure the moment we sell it for that $3,300, he'll be at the tax appraisal saying, nope, I only bought it for $3,300. Let's take that value down, and that's what I want to pay taxes on. Everybody else does it. So those are my reasons.
Fair enough.
Mayor, I have a couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
Oh, I got one.
Go ahead.
Let's see. So it's gonna sit and sit there. I do understand that, but that's the key word. It's gonna sit there. It's gonna sit there. And no disrespect, but I mean, every time we talk about a builder coming here to build something, you don't like 25-foot lots. You say we can't build nothing on 25-foot lots. So why not, if we're not gonna do nothing with it, let somebody else build something on there, and then just put it back on the tax revenue thing. I mean, if it's just sitting there, it's not like that's a big piece, and nobody gonna pay no $11,000 for no 25-foot lot. Man, I ain't seen it happen in a long time.
So I can tell you this. Yes, we don't. I am against building on 25-foot lots.
Okay.
Because the houses in these neighborhoods, established neighborhoods, do not fit. It's an ill-fitting design. Either way, any way you try and build a house on a 25-foot lot. And so it takes away from the character. When you have houses that are nice and uniform styles, and then you got 1 2-story, 2.5-story house in the middle. Yeah, I would like to see them on the tax rolls, but not to where we're devaluing the rest of the lots. There's a lot of people that are interested. There's nothing that I can do. I'm only a single vote on it. If somebody wants to build on a 25-foot lot, I can't deny it. I'm only a single vote. If the rest of council wants to go for it, hey, they can go for it. But I can't deny it. It's just, those are just my thoughts. Of course, council, everybody can make their own decision. Those are just my thoughts.
Did you say there's a lot of people wanting it or bidding? I mean, what did you say?
There are people who are buying 25-foot lots.
Oh yeah, but not for $11,000.
Oh, yeah.
No.
If it's got a,
Not right
if
here.
it's got a developed street, oh, yeah.
I would tend to believe that if the minimum bid on this was 3,280 and the gentleman bid 3,300 and got it, I would think on this particular lot, there's not a whole lot of people interested in it.
Is it the same person? Are they all different persons? People?
All four is the same person. All 4 offers is from the same person.
And I
So,
wanna-
so if that's the same, are they right? Are they side by side? Or they spread it out?
No, they're spread around.
Are they all 25-foot lots too?
No,
Okay, so we'll get
there's one that's a 10-foot. That's
a 10-foot.
I want to see if I can
The next item.
clarify something that I thought I heard you say. The minimum bid is 3,280, and that is based on when the judgment was made.
correct. That was the
Okay.
value.
So if if we decide we're not going to do this and it comes back next year and the next year and 10 years down the road, it comes back again, I think I heard you say the minimum bid is still going to be $3,280.
That's what it was, the judged value on the day that the judge did hit the gavel.
Yeah, so that number is not going to change, gentlemen.
And also, I'll just clarify again that this is not the value that we would be selling it if it was a private sale. This is just the final step in clearing up the unpaid taxes and getting it, caught back up and on the tax roll again.
That's good.
Part
Thank
of
you.
the issue is that the person has to be, it's subject to being bought back by the original property owner, so they have to hold it for a period of time before they can develop it, or they're at risk.
That time has passed.
That time was passed.
Council, any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. I was kind of curious, who's right here? Who's cutting that lawn? Because who's actually cutting this particular lot? Because
I'm not sure.
you're stating that the city's been cutting it.
No, I said that it was our responsibility.
Oh, it's our
to
responsibility.
maintain it.
Okay. And I'm just wondering if there's any record of us
I don't know.
actually mowing it. And if in fact it is the residents, that certainly paints a different picture. But, all this said, the city of Freeport doesn't really control or are we the last gatekeeper on this as far as the county's concerned?
Well, so the way I understand it is that we can deny an offer twice. And then it can be opened back up and go back to a live bid, and we're completely cut out of it. So this particular one has come before you. This is the second time. So after this, if the county chooses to, they can bypass y'all altogether and just do another open auction and sell it for whatever they can sell it for.
I see. Now, is there also an opportunity for the city to not sell it via the auction, but then try to sell it as an open market?
No, because this is not ours to sell.
Okay, gotcha. Well, it would be nice that we might be able to say, hey, listen, Mr. Baddeley, what was the last name again? It was hard to pronounce.
Yeah.
If I actually try to read it a little clearly.
Asabale?
Yeah, Asabli.
Asabas.
Abasali. Mr. Abasali, ZJ Abasali. So, Mr. ZJ, it would be nice if we could tell him, hey, you know what? We'll give you this for free instead of $3,000 on the contingency that you actually build on it. Because that's really where the real meat and potatoes are for the city, right? But
Well,
we can't do that.
We cannot do that.
Yeah.
Correct.
So I'm just trying to figure out really where our options are. We deny it, it goes back to the county, it's out of our control. And at this point, we're really kind of.
They could
yeah.
choose. They could choose to.
So we're almost at a take it or leave it point at this
Yeah.
point. No further questions, Mayor. Thank you.
Council, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'm going to call the vote. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 4-1 with Councilman Matamoros being the nay.
Okay. The next item, 2C.
2C, consideration and possible action by City Council to approve the sale of trust property within the city limits of Velasco Town Site, Block 61, Lot 10, West 10th.
The west, yeah, it's the west 10 foot of lot 10.
West 10 foot
We're
of
selling
Lot
10
10.
foot. We're selling 10 foot. The resale committee met on January the 28th, 2025, and accepted an offer for $1,400. The taxes due on the property were $908 for the years of 2002 through 2022.
Council, I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve, sir.
Motion to approve by Councilman Davis,
I'll second it.
second by Councilman Pena. Any discussion on this one? Pretty much the same.
Or is the circumstances the same, that this is the second time as well?
Yes, this is the second time on this one. as
Yeah, I
well.
mean, if it's at that point, it's kind of like, I mean, I agree, I don't want us to get the lowest amount, I want us to get the highest value. But at the same time, if this presents an opportunity, if Mr. ZJ Abasali gets this property and decides to, like, hey, you know what? I can get $15,000 on the open market for it. At that point, it gets stamped at $15,000 and the city benefits from there. So, yeah, I don't have any other questions, and I'll approve it.
Any other comments, gentlemen? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor state aye. Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 4-1. Once again, Mr. Matamoros being the nay. Agenda item 2D, consideration and possible action by City Council approving the sale of trust property within the city limits located at Velasco Town Site, Block 571, Lot 4. Ms. Kramer.
The Brazoria County Resale Committee met on January the 28th, 2025, and accepted an offer of $3,300. The taxes due on the property were $2,415.17 for the years of 2007 through 2022. It's the same situation. This is the second time it's been before you.
And this one is a 25-foot parcel.
This one is a 25-foot.
Council, I will call or entertain a motion. Can't call the vote yet.
I'll make a motion to approve
Motion
it.
to
Approve.
approve by Councilman Pena,
I second.
second by Councilman Davis. Any discussion needed, gentlemen? Now I'll call the vote. All those in favor state aye. Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 4-1. Councilman Matamoros once again being the nay. Agenda item 2E, consideration and possible action by City Council approving the sale of trust property within city limits located at Velasco Town Site, Block 747, Lot 4 and 10, undivided interest of 50%. Ms. Kramer, explain that last part.
Exactly. So this was a little different. This is the first time it's come before you. And also, lots 4 and 10 are only, so they have two owners for lots 4 and lot 10. And the one owner, I'm okay. The one owner has fallen behind on his taxes. The other 50% owner of the property is paid up. They're good. And so that other 50% that has paid their taxes, they own lots 4 through 10. So if you can imagine, there's lots 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the people that have fallen behind are on they're bookends. So they're for their half. So I'm going to suggest that y'all deny this offer, and I'm going to reach out to the other 50% property owner and say, hey, do you know, the other half of your 2 other lots here are up for sale, and they might be interested in purchasing, making a bid for themselves, and then fully owning those 2 lots.
Sounds good.
Sounds like a plan.
I'll make a motion to deny.
We have a motion to deny by Councilman Matamoros,
I'll second it.
seconded by Councilman Pena. Any questions or comments?
No, just want to make clear, I know if them lots were all ours on all of these that we voted to approve, then I may look at it a little different, but,
Yeah.
with the stipulations and the bets on, so that's why we approved them. But that was a good idea.
Yeah.
And this is the first time this one's come
That's
to
the
us.
first time. And these folks, I think that, I don't know, but maybe they're not even aware that the other property owner on those 2 lots hasn't paid their taxes. So I think it's fair at least to reach out to them and give them an opportunity so that they own those 2 lots 100%.
I like that plan. So we have a motion to deny on the floor. I'll call the vote. All those in favor state aye. Aye. All opposed? Sale is denied.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item 2F, consideration and possible action approving purchase of ballistic shields. Ms. Howell.
Good evening, Mayor, Council.
Good evening.
My first item that I have listed and everything is regarding a grant that we previously brought to you in 2024. As recently mentioned, everything, we did receive the grant proposal for the police department to be able to purchase ballistic shields. The total amount awarded for the grant was $95,602.05. When we originally applied for the grant, we obtained a quote that was 420 shields for that price. However, inflation, things go up. By the time the grant was awarded and we received an updated quote, that updated quote actually is now at $97,520.32. And it's actually only going to be for 14 shields. So there was quite a large increase. We did attempt and everything to look for some other quotes for better cost, but unfortunately we're unsuccessful in that because there's limited vendors that do supply these shields. So this will ultimately be at a cost to get those 14 shields, $1,918.27. Although this was not a budgeted item because it is an equipment item, we would be able to take that out of the asset forfeiture account, and so therefore it would not affect the PD budget any.
Thank you, Chief. Council, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve by Councilman Pena,
I'll second.
seconded by Councilman Davis. Any questions or comments, gentlemen?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Hello.
Hello.
I appreciate your grant writing skills.
Oh, this is all Detective Fernandez. that
Detective
that
Fernandez,
received the award.
are y'all, you and Chief Motley, y'all some grant writers. I need to get with y'all, and I want y'all to write, get me a grant so we can get our sports complex fixed back up.
So
Both of y'all, so I can let y'all know personally.
Well, we did just go for a park safety grant, so we're going to wait and see how that pans out this year. So,
Because I hear y'all get some grants around here. Well, thank y'all for that. Yeah.
Council, any other questions or comments?
Just that, to be clear, that, so originally we were pursuing 20 shields, but now we're at 14 shields?
yes, sir.
Okay, and so if had we been at 20 shields, I guess the price would have been exponentially higher?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, so we kept it as close to the range as possible. It's our goal and everything to go back out for the grant this year to be able to get the additional 6 shields.
Now, this particular grant, let me ask this. Has there been any communication through the office of the governors in terms of cutting these grants?
I mean, it's always a possibility. We're going to continue to pursue grants until they don't have them posted anymore.
Okay.
So,
The reason I ask is that I'm curious when we're coming forward and saying, hey, we got these grants, but then the money's not really there. It's
So-
almost an exercise in futility.
yeah, so once the grant gives us the award letter, we have that money and everything that's available to us. That has not been pulled or placed on hold yet.
And so you just need that shortage of what, $1,900?
Yes, 1918
Okay.
and 27 cents, which, like I said, we pull from asset forfeiture, so not actually from the PD budget.
Great. No additional expense, no budget amendment needed.
No.
Good, thank you. No further questions, Mayor.
Council, any other questions or comments?
Yes. Chief, so doing the math, it looks like for 6 shields, you're $41,800 short. Are you planning to, if you don't get another grant, are you planning to look for other ways to get those 6 shields?
Not right now. In our ideal world, since we have 20 on patrol, is what I wanted to be able to issue those vests out individually to the officers. The way we would probably design this out and everything is having those that are labeled off for kind of day shift and night shift, and they would be passed. Like I said, in the ideal world, being able to have that individual ownership to me, made better sense. But if they don't do the grant again, I don't know that this will be a priority and everything as far as like on our future budget request. We'll just kind of have to wait and see when we do like an overall analysis.
Okay. And the reason I'm asking about these extra 6 is, as looking at it, this is a needed device if you have to go into a hostile situation. And so I'm just curious if your plans are to reach out to maybe other communities that we help or other private businesses to assist with this.
Potentially and everything. I have heard and everything that some of the private industries are looking to be able to fund projects such as these, and so that is something that Detective Fernandez and I have had conversations about as well.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have shields now?
No, sir. Our SRT, which is a special response team, which is similar to that what people commonly known as a SWAT team, they do have shields, but that is just to them, not to the patrol officers on like day-to-day routine patrols. So if we
And-
had like an event at the school or an event at the football field or something like that, our officers wouldn't have shields being able to respond.
20 shields sounds like a lot of police officers. So you're trying to equip 20 police officers with
That's
shields at one time?
That's what our patrol division is. And so overall, we have 32 officers. And so trying to have where the patrol officers, they each have their own, so that way you're responsible for that shield. You keep up with that shield. It doesn't turn into that wasn't broken when I gave it to you at shift change, and just trying to get a little bit more ownership. And individuals tend to take more pride when something's just issued to just
Where'd
them.
you get that number from, 20?
That's how many we have on patrol.
Oh, at one time?
No, sir. No, that's 20 officers are in patrol. So there's usually 5 on at a time when we're full staffed with a full shift.
Okay. I didn't even know about the shields. Are they the shields that you see on TV?
Yes, similar.
Similar?
There's different designs and everything, but yes, what you've seen on TV would probably be similar to what these are. Just the large platform shields where the officer can be behind it, and they can also have a person behind them for protection as well, trying to get from point A to point B.
So we can exist without 20, right?
Yes, I mean we've been existing with none.
Right. That's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
We've never had shields.
But when there's a grant that was specific, this specific grant came in the wake of the Uvalde school shooting. And so this was one of the, hey, we're giving out free money. It covers 100% cost. There's no cost to the city at the time. And so we put in for the grant. We put in for 20 shields since we had 20 officers on patrol. And like I said, that's what initially we were awarded. However, it takes these grants so long. And so it's sometimes a year later. Matter of fact, this has almost been a year that this one was applied for. And so by now, those costs have just gone up so much that now we can only get 4 for the amount that we were awarded.
Okay. No further questions.
And Chief, I too appreciate y'all's grant writing skills. I've been sitting up here for going on 6 years, I reckon, and it never fails when these come across our desk. They're always short, and it's because it was done last year.
There's
and
such a delay.
yeah, so next time, tell me you want 24.
Well, and
or something like
and
that.
we actually, he and I had it, because every single one of these you'll come up to on this, and Detective Fernandez and I had that conversation over, well, maybe we should start spitballing a little higher to try to get closer to the amount. So.
Yep, but keep up the good work on this. Council, any other questions or comments?
I would just say that, budget cycle for the next year is in 4 months in June, to put that as part of the budget for the additional amount, if we don't get the grant by then, another grant. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
So, Council, I'll call the vote. All those in favor, state aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Agenda item 2G, consideration and possible action approving purchase of vehicle radio equipment. Chief Howell.
So here we are again. In 2024, we had came to you for a grant that we had applied through the U.S. Department of Justice. This was to update our vehicle radio systems, be able to allow for encryption and better interoperability for officer safety. Upon applying for the grant, again, we initially had requested $131,524.58. Inflation is horrible to us and has now gone to the current price of $133,919.72. So this is actually an additional cost of $23.9514. Again, these items were not budgeted, and because it is an equipment, we would look to again take that out of the asset forfeiture so it would not affect the current PD's budget.
Council, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve, Mayor.
Motion to approve by Councilman Pena. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Davis. Any questions or comments, gentlemen?
I have a quick question here. What's the balance on our assets forfeiture fund?
I don't want to misquote you on that, sir. So.
What's a ballpark figure on that on an annual basis?
Ashley, do you remember by chance? I want to say 80 something, but again, I don't know that to be certain.
In the asset forfeitures, I mean, it's almost self-explanatory. I'm just curious what drives that particular fund.
So that is from receiving forfeited money or forfeited products that are sold. So for example, we have a investigator who's on the Brazoria County Joint Task Force. So they do a big focus on narcotics, prostitution, gaming, larger scale operations such as that. And anything that they seize then goes before the DA's office. They go through a process of different civil court proceedings. And then if that money is deemed or those items are deemed to sell, then that money is then divided up against the entities that were involved in it. We also have some things that happen here within our own department. And so it can be anything from, again, a vehicle, an officer makes a traffic stop, finds a large amount of drugs and money, and there's items that are led to believe that this is from a distribution or sale. Then the officer again can seize those, file for the appropriate paperwork. It goes through the civil process at the DA's office. And again, if awarded, then the funds are dispersed out.
I see.
If not awarded, then the funds go back to that individual or items of property.
And if we were to have equipment like we've had in the past that we've donated to other municipalities, if we were to sell those instead at a discount to those municipalities, where would those monies go? Would they go to this particular fund, or would they go to a general fund?
No, that would go to a general fund because that's completely different.
Okay. And that fund, does it have any specific title? Or is it just the general fund for the PD?
It would just be the city's general, like for
Oh,
any
the
of
city's general fund.
like any of the auction items.
I gotcha.
So
Okay. Yeah, I'm just wondering, gives me an idea that when we're looking at donating stuff, maybe we might be able to get some value in return so that it might be able to supplement some of these expenses as
Right.
well. No further questions, Mayor.
Council, any other questions or
Thank you,
comments? Hearing none, I'll call the vote.
Sorry.
Yes, sir.
So Chief, looking at, it's Motorola who we're purchasing these through.
yes, sir.
Are there any thoughts of us switching from a different, to a different carrier, radio carrier?
I had a little bit of discussions as far as this area looking at Kenwood. That's about the only other standard acceptable for first responders, but primarily here because we are on the Harris County system, that they maintain Motorola through that.
Okay. And the reason I'm asking is, in my day-to-day professional life, we have Motorola, but we've been seeing more issues cost-wise and that, and so.
We have a lot of frustrations with Motorola.
Yeah, I wish I could say more, but I can't. And so that was just my thoughts, if we're possibly looking. Of course, don't want to change just for cost if it will sacrifice safety, but just was curious about that.
Yeah.
So, okay, thank you.
Council, any other questions, comments?
I just appreciate your preparation and your research. Every time you come up here, you put in effort to research, and you have an answer.
Oh, thank you.
And-
Not always, Steve.
Yeah, well,
I sometimes don't know what's
But
being asked.
I know you looked at it whenever you came up with this idea. You looked at that budget and say, well, we can get it out of this. You ain't just, say, I'm gonna get it out of this budget. I'm sure you looked at it. You just didn't want to give estimate, and then he come back and say, well, I thought you said you had, but no, just but thank you.
All right, council, now we're going to call the question.
Mayor, you saw that, right? Councilman Davis pushed me just now.
It's probably on the video. All those in favor state aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 2H, consideration and possible action improving purchase of dispatch radio interoperability.
So
Chief Al.
I saved the best for last because this one we actually came in under. And so I'm not really sure how that happened. I'm sure they'll probably realize it's a mistake and then redo the quote to raise it. But right now we're gonna have a celebration for the fact that we put in for the grant. It was $144,232.70 for the initial quote. However, since then, the price actually changed and went slightly down. So for this, the new updated quote is $143,710.73. So this will be at no additional cost.
This may be the first one I've seen.
Me too.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilman Matamoros,
I'll second it.
seconded by Councilman Pena. Council, any questions or comments on this? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor state aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Agenda item 2I, consideration and possible action concerning receipt of a petition requesting an election to adopt municipal service, civil service for firefighters and police officers of the city of Freeport. Before we go on, Mr. Hans elected to speak about it once we got to this point.
Thank you, Mayor. Excuse my manner. Thank you, Mayor Thayer. Thank you, Council. Can y'all hear me? Okay. If you'd give me just a moment and allow me to read out a couple of things that, and a little bit of the research that I did. According to the city attorney, that it has to go in November. And we don't believe that it has to go in November. First of all, we followed the local government code 143. Collected our signatures, got them in time, which is a requirement. And then we went to the election code, chapter 41, and it's 4101A. Except as otherwise provided by this subchapter, each general or special election in the state shall be held on one of the following dates. And of course, the first Saturday in May is one of those in odd-numbered years. And then number 3, taken from the Texas Government Code. And the question is an election to adopt a municipal civil service considered a special election? Well, according to the government code, what is a special election? Filling vacancies, proposing undecided or deciding on specific laws, amendments, referendums, adopting or amending charters, approving or rejecting bond measures, and the final one is making decisions on local issues such as adoption of the municipal service code. And that's 143, which to me, that tells me we have the right to have that vote in May.
government code was saying that this would be a special election.
Yes, for the municipal civil service.
Right. So, Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'd be glad to address it.
Well, hold on, before we go, do you have anything else? Because you got 4 minutes and your clock's
I'll
ticking.
answer any questions.
We can't,
Gotcha. No, I don't have anything else, but I
So-
think it's pretty clear.
I got a question.
Can we ask some questions?
no, this is citizens' comments.
Okay,
this
so
on the
when on the agenda, he can be called back if we have any questions for him. I mean, because it's on the agenda.
Yeah.
Because if it's on the agenda, we should be able to call any one of them up here, right?
Listen.
I'm just asking a question. I'm trying to get,
That's true.
right?
Attorney's shaking his head.
Oh, okay. All right. I just wanted to know, because if we needed him to come back, then he could be pulled back because it's on the agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, legal.
So, civil service elections are governed in part by section 143.004 of the local government code. And it provides that if the governing body.
They're telling me they can't hear you. They're telling me they can't hear you back there. The red light was on and not the green one. I apologize.
All right. So, civil service elections and civil service matters are governed by Chapter 143 of the Texas Local Government Code. Section 143.004 B says that if the governing body of the municipality receives a petition requesting an election that is signed by the qualified voters of the municipality of at least 10% of the numbers of votes, then the governing body shall order an election submitting to the voters the question of whether the chapter should be adopted. The election must be held on the first uniform election date prescribed by Chapter 41 Election Code that occurs after the petition is submitted, and which allows sufficient time to comply with all the requirements of law. As the gentleman pointed out, the city received this petition on February the 13th. And the order to call it must be by city council, which must be at an open meetings called at least, posted at least 72 hours in advance. So there was no way that the city council could take action on this matter before February the 14th, which was last Friday. Last Friday was both the deadline for filing for office for a municipality, and it was the deadline for submitting to an election at the May uniform election date, a special election on a special measure. If you look at the Secretary of State's website, which I pulled up here just a minute ago, that information is in Chapter 41 of the Texas Election Code and is on the Texas Secretary of State's election site. Plus, you would need the time to verify there is some additional administrative time to review the petition and count the things, but as a practical matter, the city didn't receive this petition in time. The government code, as he points out, it does define this as a special election, and the election code is very clear. A special election by a municipality had to be called by Friday at 5 o'clock. There are only 2 uniform election dates for municipalities under the election code. There's a May date and a November date. So as the staff recommendation is, the petition should be reviewed and it should be brought back with an order to call it at the next uniform election date, assuming the petition is all in order, and that would be in November, and you'll have plenty of time to do that.
So to make sure I'm understanding what you're saying, due to the fact that the petition was not received by the city in time to be able to hold a meeting prior to February 14th, then that's what keeps us from being able to put it on a May election.
That is correct. You simply didn't receive the petition in time to meet the election code requirements for a special election.
Okay. So council, I will entertain a motion to have this on the November election date.
Well, at this point, what I would recommend, you
We don't need the motion?
don't need the motion yet.
Okay.
You've got time. You would generally order an election by ordinance or a formal written order. I would wait for the city secretary to complete her review of the petition, make a recommendation to city council, and you'll have plenty of time to meet all the election deadlines for the November election. You simply could not have it in the May election, given the time frame at which you got the election. You were handed the petition.
You said it had to be turned in on the 14th?
No, I said the election had to be called by city council no later than February 14th, because it is a special election. So that was the deadline for city council to call the election. In order for them to have called the election by the 14th, they would have needed the petition probably more than 72 hours, but at least 72 hours prior to that date, because they have to comply with the Texas Open Meetings posting requirements. And generally, there's some administrative review time, just checking the signatures to be sure that you've got the 10% signatures that are required for city residents under the petition. And it was certainly,
Well, I have some
we
questions.
reviewed it as soon as it came in to try to attempt to figure out what your options were.
Council, any questions or comments on this?
Yes, Mayor, I have questions.
Yes, sir.
First and foremost, I want to ask, well, I want to first simply just get to this question here. Why is this on the agenda? And we heard one of the officers here earlier this evening read a statement earlier during citizen comments, Officer Miller, and I want to get to why we're even talking about this.
You received, it was our recommendation that it be put on the agenda because city council received the petition to call the election. And
No, I don't want to know why the city council followed the rules to put it on the agenda. I want to know why the police department has decided to organize and put this on the agenda tonight, or for that matter, on the next ballot. And I'd like to get an answer to that. Because from what I'm hearing from this evening and the speakers, that there's some serious problems that council needs to consider what's going on. And when I hear, and this actually goes on to one of the agenda items that I had later on about budgetary items, but when I'm hearing that the city of Freeport's police department, and I'm not sure if it's the full first responders and the fire department as well, are not in receipt of their overtime, and that it's being politicized by city hall staff, namely the city manager, I'm curious why that has happened, because I can also tell you, I've been asking around, and really, the civil services, and for that matter, police unions, are not good for small cities, but it seems like we've forced the hand of our local police department by playing games with their salaries. And then when I hear the word retaliation, that they're afraid of being retaliated upon, that raises a whole bunch of other flags for me. And I want to make sure that that doesn't go unsaid tonight, but that we also consider that going forward. Because if we have a problem at City Hall where there is some kind of political weaponization of authority and position against the police department, the city of Freeport is going to have a big, big, big problem. And I hope that you're aware of that, Mayor. And if you're not, I want to let you know what I've been hearing. So I don't know if you've been getting any phone calls, but we need to make sure that we rectify this. And if the first order of rectification is making sure that they are in fact getting their cost of living adjustment per our budget, then that needs to make sure that we need to make sure that tonight we tell City Hall staff, namely the city manager, Mr. Petty, to instruct the CFO to release those funds at the next payroll period, and for that matter, all the back pay. Because this is what's happening. You start messing with people's livelihood and their income and their salaries, then they start organizing. And the problems with this particular organization of a police force is that it really disempowers the city. And I'm not interested in disempowering the city, but I'm not going to sit up here and say, hey, let's abuse our police officers either. And that's what's going on, as I understand it. So we can talk about this being on the next election or whatever else in November, but the truth of the matter is, and I know because I've asked this before, we don't have to worry about this deadline on the 14th. We don't need to worry about that deadline to be on the election cycle that the county has. We can actually call our own special election. It'll cost the city about $10,000, maybe $20,000. But shoot, and I'll use other words in another day, but I could tell you we've been wasting that much more money other ways. But we can have a special election. But I would hope that the police would be willing to cooperate with the city if we're able to actually just do what they were voted by council to receive, which was their cost of living adjustment. But also, I want to make sure that there's no single retaliation against any police officer. And I want to make sure that everybody knows this, that if anybody on city staff ever feels threatened by senior management, to let every one of us know, because they will be gone. You will have my vote that they are removed.
All right, we're getting off.
Well, I want to
Off
make
track.
I want to be clear on this, that we need to make sure that the pay is restored, reinstated, or for that matter, put in process, because that's what we passed for on the budget, is that all of the employees, and as I understand it, the police department is part of the employee staff. And I look back at the video on our budget in August, and it said, Miss CFO Kathy Ezell was up here saying that we needed to make sure that we had 3% so that we wouldn't lose any talent. And that went across the board for all of our staff, all of our employees. And I want to make sure that we do that first and foremost, so that we instruct the city. I don't know if we have to take a formal motion on a vote that was already passed, or we just say out loud, do your job, get them paid, and then let's talk about this vote at the next council meeting. That's what needs to happen, Mayor.
All right, council, any other questions or comments?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right. Welcome to politics, huh? I also have got calls about this situation, and I've asked around to the head councilman in our sheriff's department in our county field, and they even said, that's not good for the police department to be wanting to form a union or something. So I would hope we would be able to come together and fix this. But I understand if there is some issues going on, well, we need to get to the bottom of it. I heard the man say they don't want to, feel no retaliations. Well, I have to second what Pena said on if there is any, we need to know about it, because we're not going to tolerate it. We shouldn't tolerate it and across the board from the city. Now, I ain't say you did. I'm just saying if you do, if that does happen, we need to know about it, because we want our citizens to be treated fairly, and the people voted us up here to stand up for the residents and make good decisions for the city. But what I do want to know is why they haven't got this raise. I got to get that answer. I need that answer. Like why they didn't get this raise, and what are we gonna do to make that raise happen? Because it was voted on, and when we vote on something and we pass it, we expect that to be carried out. we can't do it, but it comes downhill to the people in position. So I want to know why that hadn't been done.
Council, any other questions or comments?
I'm waiting on the answer.
Yes, I have, I have
Wait a
some-
minute, I'm not done.
We'll-
I ain't done.
we'll-
I ain't done. So it's no answer, or we gonna get the answer later
We'll-
in the back, or
No, go ahead.
don't cut me off, because when I let y'all speak, and I
I
don't
thought you were
interrupt y'all.
done, Councilman.
Huh?
I thought you were done.
No, 'cause I asked a question, and somebody would have said, somebody should have answered that question. Somebody should have said, well, we'll get with you, or we'll let you know, or, something. Don't just, it's on the agenda, so it's to be talked about. So questions need to be answered.
Mr. Petty.
Yes, sir. The police are on a step plan that was approved through council on the budget. Ms. Ferguson can probably answer the questions more on it, or Ms. Fisher can, I know for sure. Ms. Fisher, you want to come up?
The police department is on what we call a STEP program. So that was put into place several years ago. And the matrix for their steps was updated, I believe, the 23-24 year, I believe, and gave them like 3.5% on starting and then through the steps. They automatically, on their anniversary date, get a raise going from step 0 to step 1 to step 2, regardless of whether council votes a COLA for the rest of the city employees or not. So they are getting raises, but because of the STEP program, they are not eligible for the COLA because that would put them out of step, if that makes sense.
I've got a question for you. Is this the first year, because I know it's been probably 3 years since we were put on, they were put on the STEP program. Is this the first year that they were on the STEP yet did not get the COLA?
No.
Or is this standard practice?
No, this is standard practice. The COLA that was passed by council was for all eligible employees. The word eligible was in that statement in the budget presentation. There were a couple of people that were not eligible because they were already at the max for their pay grade. There were also, the police department is not eligible because of the STEP program. So even if we don't get, if council comes back during this budget cycle and says 0 cost of living adjustment, the police department on the STEP program still gets a raise at their anniversary date when they move from one step to the next. Does that answer that question?
Chief, can you come up to the microphone?
I can't remember if it was 22 or 23 where we upped that.
Yeah, as a part of the 23-24 budget, I had asked for a COLA raise across the entire step matrix.
And so we did raise it to 3.5%.
And so we did it that year, and then that was one of the things I had asked on this last year, but we didn't do it for this last year.
Okay.
There's been one done since I've been here, but this is only the second budget for me.
And you asked for the COLA as well as the STEP, or was the COLA added to the STEP?
No, so the step's an automatic. I had asked for a COLA adjustment across the step. So like all the different categories, like Donna was explaining, step 1, step 2, step 3, that goes to a range of 0 to 20 for all the different positions. It's like a large Excel spreadsheet is what it is. And so before they had placed the, I don't remember, 3.5% change across the entire spreadsheet. And so that's what I had asked. Well, I'd actually, if I'm going to be honest, I asked for a 5% COLA this year. But I had asked for that again going across the matrix. But this year there wasn't a change on the matrix, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and so that was passed. I mean, does that have to be passed, or is it, so
to do a COLA on the matrix, that typically has not, now, I'm not the one that adjusted the matrix in 23, 24. That was the previous finance director, so I'm giving you what I know. But typically, the step matrix that we've had has only been adjusted like every few years, not necessarily every year. Because it is, part of the reason is because it's extremely cumbersome. The other reasons, I don't know, because I don't make those adjustments. It's, you adjust the minimum salary, you adjust the maximum salary, and then the steps kind of work themselves out in between at percentages. Because you get bigger jumps at like 5 years or maybe 7. Yeah, but so some of the middle steps get bigger jumps than the lower end and the higher end. And that's a retention tool. So not each step is 3.5 between each step. It's 3.5 on the minimum. It may be 3.5 on the maximum. And then the steps in between sort of fluctuate themselves out. You may get 2.5 this year, but you may get 6 this year, depending on where you are on the steps.
Yeah, it was, I work for the county, so it works like that over there
Yeah.
too. So
So,
I
but
understand.
Typically, the city has not adjusted the step matrix every year. Like I said, that was typically a finance, but since the finance director is newer in her position than I am in mine, I'm telling you what I know.
So the finance, you don't know nothing about it this year?
Missy Zell left September 25th. By that time, everything for the budget was pretty much done. I did have to do the spreadsheet that had the 3% for the people that are not PD or, yeah.
I will say that the county, their matrix automatically adjusts. If the COLA is approved.
Can you come to the mic?
Please come to the mic, yeah.
Coming from the county, if a COLA is approved through the county, the entire pay matrix is adjusted. But
Yeah.
also, all of the county is on a payment matrix.
Yeah,
And the
right.
city is not set up that way,
Right, yeah.
which is something I had just told you the other day. I thought was very weird, but
In the county I come from, that's a standard when they do the COLA, it goes across a matrix as well, which is why it asked for that, so.
Yeah.
Mayor, it
Yeah,
sounds, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I have
Wait,
a-
well, yeah, no, hold on.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Actually, Mayor, if I may, I just heard somebody say, well, this is actually about pay now, this isn't even about the civil service, so I don't know.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. None of the officers have reached out to me, so I have no clue what the gripe is. You know, I don't know if they've reached out to Councilman Pena and Councilman Davis over there, and that's what's been expressed, or if they're assuming that's what the issue is.
Yeah, well, I know we heard it on the comment earlier, but this is why I asked the question, and this is how you get to the bottom of it. You know, you don't just walk away and don't say nothing. You know, it's on the agenda, so, and thank you for your breakdown and your little input that you have. And so now everybody kind of getting a better understanding, whether they agree or not, but now we got an understanding. I don't even think they knew that much, that it was working like that. Do you understand, Chief, you understand what their breakdown was?
Yes, from my previous city and then the previous county, they had pay matrix, and so when I came here, it's pretty standard.
Right. So,
And they're aware of the steps. They're aware when they move from one step to another.
yeah, they're aware of that part, but it was,
There's an increase involved.
and, okay, because we sound like none. You like to speak?
Yeah, before we get somebody else, I'd like to make this other comment here. So it sounds to me like last year, I mean, first off, we have this matrix for the police department. Yeah, we adopted it, 3 years ago, Jerry?
It's been a while.
It's, yeah, about 2 or 3 years ago. And I think it was 2022. And but then we have last year, there seems to be some ambiguity, but maybe not. It seems a little bit subjective that the CFO last year went ahead and applied the COLA across the board on top of the matrix. And then what we're hearing also is that the county does this as well. And I think that's where I'm hearing is the chafing on this, is that like, why is it that this is not the same this year?
In 2023, the matrix was adjusted. It was signed off on by the previous city manager. And I honestly don't remember if that matrix itself actually came to council. At that point, I was working with what was given me.
We voted on one matrix, right, Jerry?
One that I can remember,
Yeah.
and that was to originally,
I have not brought a matrix since I have
Yeah,
been here.
the matrix
And
was
so
there
it
before
just-
you-
It was a budgeted item to do a COLA, and that was to affect the matrix as well, and then that's what it was presented to council, not the actual matrix itself, if that makes sense.
The increase was calculated by Ms. Ezell and signed by Mr. Kelty and then given to me.
And so this year, that particular step didn't happen.
Correct.
But that's why we have the police force here asking, where's our increase? And so council, I guess we have to decide whether or not we're going to honor that same adjustment that we did last year.
you know, it's truly a shame we didn't have this conversation.
During the budget cycle.
Specifically, this conversation during the budget cycle. And you know, I have all respect for our first responders, 100%. I do wish they would have reached out prior to sending a petition or having a petition signed.
Well, but is this something that we need to rewrite policy on? I mean, like, I feel
Well-
like this should be defined.
That's something for
I mean, because if
question
I
for
had a
another
question-
time
Ooh,
that
oh,
we
yeah,
need to
absolutely,
definitely
yeah.
take that up. I would like to make some statements. And there is, all of this discussion by council arose out of pay because of the statement made by Officer Miller. And so that's what we were talking about. But now we're hearing, and we also heard that there was fear of retribution by administration. Now, the way I understand it, through our city charter, the only person who answers in the police force to the city manager and council is the chief. So if PD is having an issue, fearing retribution by their administration, I take that the chief is their administration. So if they're having an issue with that, then that becomes an HR issue. Okay? And so if you're not making a comment to
Well,
HR.
Mr. Miller, were you accusing the retaliation of the chief?
Councilman Pena.
I'm talking.
Councilman Pena.
I'm just curious about that.
I've given you the respect. Give me the respect.
Just get the clarification.
I mean, because if we really want to get down to it,
Yeah.
I mean, here we go. There was one person on this entire council who voted against cost of living raises in the last budget. And
That's
he's
right.
sitting there at Ward A.
Correct.
So he
Because there
voted
was no
against y'all's.
transparency, that's why.
He
Gentlemen,
voted against
one person at a time.
And if y'all are having issues with y'all's administration, reach out to council. Because then we can go and put pressure on our city manager to find out what that issue is. And if has to be a change, then there has to be a change, if it's verifiable.
Correct.
I am not against y'all getting better pay, because I know y'all do a very difficult job. I have a brother-in-law who's in law enforcement, and probably the worst city to do law enforcement in Austin. It's in Austin, Texas. He has zero support out of that city council and that district. So if y'all have an issue, please contact HR. And if you feel that you can't, come to us. Come to me. Bring it to me.
Bring it to everybody. There's not one gatekeeper here. There are
I'm not a
five councilmen.
gatekeeper.
There are five
I'm not a
councilmen.
gatekeeper.
There are five
I'm just
councilmen.
saying.
Gentlemen,
There are five
we're
councilmen.
not going to talk over each other.
There's five councilmen, Mayor.
And we're well aware of that. I agree with Councilman Matamoros. Reach out to us, because not one of them have come to me.
Well, I will say that that's the reason why I have the agenda item, letter K, is because I've been trying to talk about the various budget discrepancies, in particular this one, and it has been painstakingly difficult since December to try to put this on the agenda.
Mayor,
And
this
we
is a
finally got
totally
it.
different
Yep,
item.
you're correct. It's
And so
keeping
we'll be
track.
on it here in letter
Go
K.
right back to K.
Well, we'll get to it. And if you want to do the whole process formally and get to letter K, and then we can talk about this, that's fine. And we can close the whole deal about the special election. But just be sure to know why this special election is happening. It's because the police department doesn't feel like they can trust city hall staff. At no point has anybody articulated that they don't trust the chief. It's that they don't trust city hall, city manager. That's where it's at.
Well,
This is your city.
so see, you talking about come holler at you, come to you. Well, they must already know something. They don't feel comfortable coming to you or coming to him.
We're not gonna.
I don't know what you're laughing
throw
for.
stones, gentlemen.
You said it. I'm not the one.
We're not gonna throw stones, gentlemen.
Ain't nobody threw no stone.
We're gonna keep it on track. Legal has
Legal has dropped the ball on this. We need to take this
said
into
that the
executive
meeting
session
will
too.
be, or the item will be on an election in November.
No, Mayor. Did you not hear what I said earlier? That we can actually call a special meeting. If, a special election. We can call it,
For uniform election dates, there are 2 uniform elections.
that's not true. You can also call a special election outside of those particular dates. Let's get a second opinion on this. Listen, I'm telling you here, I have enough experience with Olson & Olson being wrong, and for that matter, giving false advice, so I would ask for a second opinion. Thank you.
Call the TML. I guarantee you.
Tomorrow
they'll
morning,
take
we
the
will
same
call.
thing.
I will call.
All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Hans, you have one more thing you want to say?
I'd like to clarify just a couple things. First of all, in my experience, like it's 38 years in law enforcement here in the state of Texas, when there's a 3% or 3.5% or 5% across the board pay raise, every step gets it. Every step gets it. It only makes sense, particularly in today's world when it's hard enough to keep people because everyone else is paying so much. But Councilman Pena, is it? You mentioned that that first of all, I think y'all may be a little bit confused. It's only my opinion from what I heard. But civil service has nothing to do with pay, other than if you're not paying people on time and you're not paying people accurately. Civil service has nothing to do with pay raises. It's a matter of administrative due process. Now, you said you have a relative that works in Austin? I bet that son of a gun is so happy that he has civil service protection. Because in today's world, you need civil service protection. It's a process because you got to take the politics out of policing. That's why civil service came about. Hiring, promotions, discipline, firing, these are all things that encompass civil service. And the city manager gets to pick the 3 volunteer citizens to sit on the Civil Service Commission and hear the officer side of the story, or the sergeant's side of the story, or any up to captain. In today's world, particularly with the lawsuits and well, we've always had a lot of people. Excuse me, I'm having a moment here. I got a little angry back there myself listening to what was going on, but the responsibility, the accountability that's placed on these folks, you've got to have some form of due process. I'm not talking criminal due process, I'm talking administrative due process. Anytime someone gets 3 days off or 5 days off, that impacts not only them, it impacts their family. So we just need to make sure that discipline is fair and equal. And in an at-will, let me just tell you, we've been trying to get civil service for Harris County constables for the last 3 legislative sessions. The last session, after the president of my group testified, he was asked by a committee member, "Are you in fear of losing your job?" And he said, "Well, yes, I am." And the assistant chief that was sitting over there immediately went crazy. "He'll never lose his job, blah, 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 blah." Guess who was the only person out of a 500-man precinct that didn't get sworn in on January 1st? Because he didn't have any type of protection. The only person out of 500 members. 26 years on the constable's office, 10 years as a supervisor, 1 day of discipline for missing court 15 years ago. That's why you need civil service. So I appreciate you giving me an extra few moments.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Well, the petition has been signed and filed, so it will go in front of the voters of the city of Freeport. Moving on. Agenda item
Wait,
2.
Jerry, what do you mean that it's gonna go before, this petition is gonna go before the public? The council has to vote on that.
The governing body has to order the civil service.
Can you speak
election
in the,
if the
speak in the
petition-
mic so everybody can?
Okay. State law requires the city council to order the election on the civil service if the petition has the 10% signatures as required by the statute.
So because it's met the statute requirements, it can have its own, it can be on the ballot, is what you're saying?
Yes,
Okay.
it would, and given, it will be the November uniform election date.
Unless the council decides to vote for it, if we find out in fact that that's the case.
No, it has to be submitted to the electorate, and it can only be submitted to the it will have to be submitted to the electorate at the November election date, because that's the next uniform election date that complies with all the statutory requirements.
I'll contact TML about that, thank you.
Can you hold a special council session?
I'm gonna get with Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
I will get with TML, Mayor. I mean, you're more than, anybody else is welcome to do it. I mean, we're gonna be going to Austin next week even. So, to get that answer, and then we can have that back on the agenda. Thank you, sir. We'll talk about that on section K.
City Council Agenda Item 2J, discuss and take possible action on agenda rules and guidelines per ordinance 2021-265, 2022-2657, 2022-2672. This, ladies and gentlemen, was put on the agenda by Councilman Pena and Councilman Davis.
So Mayor, I have a point of order on this, and speaking with the TML, Stephanie, a lawyer, ordinance 2021-265 is not a legal ordinance number, and thus cannot be talked about within this. The other two ordinances can be, because if you go to the TML training, which I have for newly elected officials, they have a document that states how specific does the subject of the notice need to be. The more important the particular subject is to the community, the more the specific the posted notice must be. And so this is an incorrect item. It cannot be talked about, or for fear of legal retribution by residents. I ask that we table this until it is correctly put on our agenda. And if we do talk about this, I will be making sure that there will be some legal challenges made up depending on what we talk about. You should know. You
2021,
seconded it.
2650. Well, he didn't hear you, I don't think. Mayor, I appreciate that a councilman went ahead and made a call here. But these agenda items here, again, I want to point to, I really do wish, Mayor, I really do wish that David Olson was here
Mr.
yet
Feeney,
again.
hold up a second. We have a motion to table on the floor. Is there a second? We have a
I'll second
motion
it.
We have a motion to table by Councilman Matamoros, seconded by Councilman Rosso.
To table it, right?
Yes, sir. All those in favor state aye.
Oh, you didn't say I
Aye.
had no questions?
All
no
opposed?
comments?
We have a discussion on it, he's asking.
Oh,
Are we able to have a discussion on that?
yeah, asked if we had any discussion.
We can have discussion on whether or not we're going to table it, because that's what the motion was.
Okay. So we do that before the vote or after the vote?
Now,
Any question on tabling?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
See, this is the problem. Okay, he called out all that, but when we get to running and jumping up and tabling everything, and don't nobody want to talk about, you don't even know what we wanted to adjust on now, or what we wanted to cut out. You know, that's the problem up here. It seems I've been sitting here for the whole time, and y'all sitting here trying to silence people. And yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. You can read through that, and you can tell why them things put in place. I talked to our colony. I talked to Lay Jackson. I talked to Richwood. You know, people talking to me now, and I'm asking questions now. I've been sitting back and watching, and they say, and then they telling me, and these are city council people, you know, and this is bull. And this is what you silencing city councilmen because you're scared of what somebody gonna say. The people voted us to speak up and have a word for them, to be their voice. And all of this stuff here, y'all cutting it out. And I'm getting tired of it, man.
Well, I'll say this, Jarvis.
Y'all.
Let's keep it on point.
Exactly, I am. Mr. Rosso and I, we went, when we were newly elected, we went to a newly elected training by the TML. And when we did, they gave us this document. And again, I'm reading from it. So maybe you should go to the training.
I'll go this year.
Go to the training,
Thank you
and
for your
you'll
advice.
learn.
I'll go
You
this
will
year.
learn what it
Yeah.
means.
Gentlemen, one at
okay?
a time.
But I had a wedding. My
One
son
at a-
got married that day.
Gentlemen,
Yeah. So you gonna?
Hey, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know it.
but
I know
I'm
you are,
telling
but that's how you do. That's how you do.
All we're doing is
You-
tabling it. We just want to make sure that we talk about something and we do it right. That's it. That's
you
all I'm doing.
You've been
That's-
tabling it for
that-
three
Because you
for
can't
three
do it
meetings.
right.
Every
Chief.
time
You
you're
can't
talking
do
about
it
three
right.
meetings.
Chief, can you
and
come
then
up
when
here,
you write
please?
it down, and then when you turn it in, well, if it was a problem, the city manager supposed to
Councilman Davis.
come and
Councilman
rewrite
Davis.
you and tell you
Councilman
what you
Davis.
put down wrong, so you can change it. Now
Councilman
read that.
Councilman Davis.
Mayor, I have a comment.
Go ahead.
This is a symptom of a larger problem. First of all, the tabling on this, I mean, we can table things under false pretense. We can table things under somebody's false opinion or false evaluation or understanding or interpretation of whatever rule they read or heard at some meeting that they thought they learned. But here's the deal. Olson and Olson, for 3 straight meetings, or 3 opportunities in the last 3 weeks, have given me and the rest of council just misleading information after misleading information. And I keep asking, why didn't you tell us that the first time? Why didn't you tell me that the second time? And why didn't you tell me that last week? And then here we are tonight, we have yet a fourth time where there's, another gotcha, we can't talk about this. But I'm telling you, what's the harm in basically trying to talk about, hey, these ordinances are doing exactly what is not beneficial to the city. It's harming the city because you're not getting the communication. And that's why you have the police department feeling that they cannot go to council as a whole because they don't feel that the items that are important are actually being spoken about. That's the reason. You can shake your head no, but it's true. That's the truth here, Mayor, and you know this. So don't turn a blind eye to this. So I'm telling you here, we're going to talk about these other two ordinances, but I'm going to tell you, Councilman Rosso, you're voting, or you just seconded to table this, but do you really understand, or are you just going to just blindly trust Madam Morris on this? I mean, the whole deal here is that here's the deal.
You asked me a question,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
Let me answer the question.
What's your-
Let me
yeah.
answer the question.
Sure.
All right? I have faith in him, you, and Davis. I have faith in you guys. I feel like Madam Morris is not doing this to get at you. He's not doing this or saying this to get at Davis. He believes what he says.
Well,
And that's why I say table it. I didn't say nay.
right.
I said let's table it. Let's
But
look into it.
The problem is that it becomes this administrative cat and mouse is what the problem is. So now all of a sudden there's some newly ambiguous bar that we have, some other threshold that we have to meet. I mean, first it was, hey, get 2 councilmen to put it on the agenda. And I can tell you that in the month of December, 2 councilmen asked for this discussion to be on the agenda, and it got denied because Olson and Olson illegally removed it off of the agenda, and the city manager also illegally removed it off the agenda based on the rules that we have adopted. But I didn't hear any crying of foul or tabling then, but here we are now. I'm just trying to say, you know what, can we finally talk about this stuff? Because these rules hurt you and Councilman Davis at the time, that you have 2 councilmen, and the idea is that, number one, as the ordinance reads, it's supposed to be verbatim. Nothing is supposed to be changed. What you ask for to be on the agenda should be on the agenda, number one. And that didn't happen. And this whole deal about, I mean, we can get into the other ordinances, but this one right here is to have 2 councilmen, and that's the problem. This particular ordinance is so problematic, and I have to have a question here that I wrote down for Olson. And this is part of the discussion.
All right,
This is the discussion. I just have this last comment.
You asked if we could have discussion on the motion.
And this-
The discussion needs to be towards
No, it's on
it
the
being
subject.
tabled. No, the motion on the floor is to table it. So any discussion should be on tabling.
Right, on why we're tabling it or not tabling it. And so we need some clarification on why we're tabling this. I'm not going to take simply one councilman's interpretation of what he heard at a meeting last year or 2 years ago or whenever he became elected. What I want to know is what we're going to get from Olson and Olson tonight. Because this is the 4th time I want to see on record yet again. Because I have the paper trail, and I tell you, I do keep the receipts of every time I get a consultation from Olson and Olson.
Right.
And we have 3 of them from David, and I have another one here for Mr. Bounds. And the question is, how is this a councilman supposed to represent their constituents without violating the state law? Because this particular ordinance, in fact, does violate the state law. It sets us up for violating the state law, and which is you're not supposed to have a quorum. But
That
this
you're
one
not
here-
talking about whether or not we're going to table this.
I'm trying
So,
to talk about whether or not this has merit to be tabled.
You're going to.
No, I'm asking
You're
whether-
going to Victoria by way of Houston.
I'm asking, the reason why we're tabling this, is it correct?
Legal, what's your answer?
Well,
there?
so let me finish the question, though. The question I have is that, and I'm looking for Olson and Olson's advice. This ordinance right here is shutting out the 2021-2650.
2021.
So,
So this, let me
Hold on.
finish. This particular one, hold tight. This particular agenda item requires that the councilman who, if he wants to put something on the agenda, he has to get a second. So we've been told, actually the new councilmen have been told, because I've already been through this here a couple of years now, my friends, And they've been trying to put me in legal jeopardy because of this particular rule. And I just wanted to get some clarification on this. Because as the rule is written right now, it requires 2 councilmen to get anything on the agenda. And the problem with that is that the new councilmen have been sending out a request to all of the council, and then they've been threatened to say, oh, no, that's illegal, you can't do that. You're going to get a walking quorum. So the other question is, then how do you get a second? Do you go to one councilman, and if he says no, you go to the second one? Then that's a walking quorum. So what I'm trying to tell you, Jerry, is that this ordinance violates the state law. We created an ordinance that actually violates the state law of open meetings. And so I want to know from Olson tonight, which one should we be following? Should we be following this one here? Or, well, because this is going to help to clarify whether or not we
Jeff,
table this,
you would
Jerry.
be surprised to know
What
that
would I be surprised?
you would be surprised to know that I was interested in talking about this tonight.
Well, I'm
Okay.
glad. And so I'm glad you're affording this conversation, because I'd like to get this answer
But
from Olson.
we have a motion on the floor to table.
You're just contradicting yourself, Jerry.
No, I'm not. I'm playing by the rules.
It's a question germane to the topic, and so I'm asking Olson.
What is your,
So 2021-2650 was prepared and approved by your prior city attorney.
Regardless, I'm asking, what is your opinion of it
Was
tonight?
prepared and approved by your prior city attorney, Christopher
No,
Duncan.
it was approved by the previous council 4-1.
Right. It is
I was
not,
the one.
it is not atypical of ordinances and rules of procedures that other cities have that require the consent of, or that require a city manager or a mayor to place an item on an agenda if 2 or more council members request the item to be placed on the agenda. The Texas Open Meetings Act has an exception, which I think I have discussed with city council before, that you do not have to have an agenda item in a regular meeting to request something to be placed on a future agenda. In general, the discussion of an item to be put on an agenda, not the discussion of the merits of the matter, is an exception to the Open Meetings Act. It is, but
Wait.
it is, as you point out, a practical problem of if a council member is lobbying multiple council members to put an item on the agenda and ends up discussing why they're putting that item on the agenda with, and the merits of the item, that's probably a violation of the Open Meetings Act.
if it's done with more than,
If it's done more than just, this is an
One-on-one.
agenda item I would like to be put on the agenda, will you sign off on it?
yeah, so if a council member wanted this is why I wanted to talk about it.
Yeah, there's been confusion
So,
on it ever
well,
since it
no,
was
no,
born.
no. I already told you, I was looking forward to having this discussion.
I remember, I have you on
Okay.
video. You and I both agreed that it was confusing.
But we have a motion to table on the floor.
So,
And here's why I'm making the motion to table. Because the request to have it on council
Listen, Councilman.
was 2021-265. Now he's stating it's 2021-2650.
Oh, my God.
That's an entirely
It's
different.
the same damn thing.
No, it's
dude.
not.
Oh, my God.
So you're telling me
technically
265
2020
is the same as 2650.
I
And
asked,
math?
no, you know what it
I mean,
is?
that doesn't
It's
confuse
the same
me. And so
Gentlemen.
what I'm stating
Listen,
is,
if I said it in
let's talk
Spanish,
about
would
it.
it matter? If I
That's
said it in
correct.
Spanish,
We are
would
not,
it matter?
we are not going to
Correct.
talk over each other, gentlemen.
26.50?
We are not
What the fuck?
going to talk over each other.
It doesn't matter what language I speak, dude. It's the document that I prepared and I gave it to the city manager
You know
as
what?
directed by Olson and Olson, Mayor.
Will you withdraw your motion to table, please? I want to make a different motion, if you would withdraw it.
I mean, honestly, we were already taking a vote.
We didn't finish the vote.
And so
Mayor facilitates it.
By the law, we're supposed to continue with that vote.
Unless.
No,
By the
that's
law.
true.
And so,
Unless-
The mayor
so
stopped
you
the
know
vote.
what? I will. Let's have it out. Let's go. I'm withdrawing my motion.
Councilman Rosso, would you do the same?
I'll do the
Council,
same.
I'm making a motion that we adjourn. Is there a second?
What you say?
I'm making a motion that we adjourn.
Adjourn the meeting?
Yes, sir.
This is terrible.
All those in favor state aye.
No.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Come on, man.
Oh, no.
Motion,
Wait, did it get passed? What's the vote?
adjourn?
You want to adjourn?
we are, ladies and gentlemen, we are
We even get to
adjourned.
talk about the overtime pay for the police department because of this. These games continue, my friend.